I'm here with Kirk DeWindt. Kirk is one of the best masters runners in the country. Very humble about it, but he's going to be a sub 15-minute 5K guy. I think he ran a 15:17 fairly recently.
I did within the year, yep.
So he's freaky fast, but what I love about Kirk is that he is not just a skinny rail of a runner. He's strong as shit too. We did some heavy lunges today. We did some bench press today, and we ran a sub 15-minute 5K today. Stay tuned to see more about how that went. But we had a good time. Kirk, thanks for being here. You want to tell the people a little bit more about you and where they can find you?
Well, we're actually direct competitors here.
Yeah, we are.
We're trainers in the Twin Cities. I've been personal training and endurance coaching about 15 years. And then I would say I'm still pushing hard for my running goals. Spent some time in the OCR space, and now I'm still hitting the masters pure run type stuff. So I'm pushing pretty hard at that, but all while not being like a skinny, pathetic, traditional runner type, right? And so I pride myself on that, and I try to coach the exact same way. So much like you on a social media platform, we have the Running Public. We launch 2 podcasts a week. You've been a guest on there once or twice. So we have the podcast. We have run coaching platforms, both like monthly auto subscription, and I do one-on-one customized coaching. But I think the big thing is like me and you are still chasing it. And I think that's the important part, right? We're athletes as equally as coaches, and my hope is to stay that way for a long time. Yesterday, I did a 10-mile tempo with 2 mile on each end, 5:45s out, and then I progressed down to 5. I think my last mile was 5:17.
I did an 8.5 mile tempo on Saturday, but for me, that's 6 flat.
Yeah, that's quick.
So you got 30 solid seconds a mile on me. I'm doing 2 threshold sessions a week that are both pretty demanding, but I think I'm at like 30 miles a week.
Running a marathon when?
Next marathon's Grandma's.
Oh, we're going to be there together.
Really?
Yeah. I just saw a post. You're shooting for...
I'd like to do sub 245.
That'd be quick.
Are you sub 230 then?
That's the plan. I think if I nail it, I can run 227. Where are you going now?
I'll go 2 plates.
Jesus Christ. So you're going 5s?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I used to do like a 4 or 5 day sort of split. I was probably 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I am now.
Yeah.
Back when I did some TV stints, did a couple of shows called The Bachelor. The idea was to get big. So I shifted quickly from like big run focus to like getting jacked. But then after that, I actually have to limit it if I want to stay fast. It kind of sucks.
For you, putting on muscle too easy. Must be rough.
That's not the case. But you know what I mean? Like
I do.
they can fight each other at a certain point. And so it's like, you got an ass on you, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, that's where the power comes
it's a
from.
lot to haul around.
It is. I know it is. You weigh 165?
Yeah. I used to run at 130.
People think you can just hit the weights and you become 165. How many years has it been, right? I think it took me to go from like 140 to 175, 7, 8 years. How long has it been for you?
I went from like 130s to mid 150s, low 150s pretty quick. And then from like 155 to 165 to keep it lean.
Yep.
Like that 10 pounds has taken a long time.
I'm afraid to ask where you're going from here.
3 plates.
Fuck you. Can we swear on your
we can.
channel?
Yeah. Are you currently the fastest you've ever been?
Like in the 1500, my younger self would beat my current self, but I would say anything, probably half marathon and longer, I'm quicker. I mean, at 40, 41, I ran 15:17 in the 5K in the track. College, I was probably 14:40, but I was also 30 pounds lighter.
You're still pretty damn fast for being 30 pounds heavier.
Most of the other just like runner-focused people at 40 don't really have a very structured strength routine at all. At least not they've been consistent with for decades. It's the biggest differentiator now between me and you. Look at the other guys my age, like on the start line, I look like a bodybuilder.
Right.
I mean, and I'm not huge. I'm a 5'10", 170. And I look out of place. All these guys are getting injured. Their metabolisms are slowing. Their body composition is changing. And so like, I think it just has helped me maintain a high percentage of my ability.
Like you're going to lose muscle as you age eventually. And I feel like if you're maintaining like the optimum or optimal physique for a young runner, then you're going to end up like not enough muscle unless you do something about it earlier on. So it's almost like there's a trade-off between being as fast as possible younger and like having that longevity.
I think the young fast physique is going to be rail thin and almost embarrassing, but eventually there's like meat in the middle, sacrifice, find strength, and then you will eventually end up ahead of the skinny waist because eventually structure breaks down as you age, as you talked about. I didn't do this by grand design. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm like some like genius with this. It's just I like strength training and I like running, and I never wanted to let that part go. But like now that I age and you look at your competition, there's no more 41-year-olds left running as fast as I am, even guys that were faster than me in college. We talk about on our podcast about how strength training, the longer you go, the more impactful it is. Would that be your selling point for higher power output ability so that you're working at a lower percentage on race day?
Yeah, it's the same thing as like max velocity, like top speed work for runners.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're trying to run a mile at 90% of top speed versus 80% of top speed. You can just relax that little bit more. I'm not a huge fan of high rep stuff for endurance athletes because one, like your whole sport is endurance. You don't have to come in the gym and try to replicate that. Like the gym is for all the things that are important, but you don't get from running. There's some good data and research on like trying to improve, quote, muscular endurance. They did a study where they were trying to improve people's performance at a squat AMRAP 185 for as many times as possible. Should you just work on high rep sets of 185, for example, or should you try to get your max up so that 185 is a lower percentage? And they found that just actual strength work, getting that max up, was just as effective as high rep sets for improving the high rep performance. But the benefit was you also got strong at the top end.
So you get both.
Yeah.
I haven't done 185 on a reverse lunge in a while.
It looks great. You're now my benchmark. If I'm ever working with a runner that can't lunge at least 185, I'm going to be like, well, Kirk can do it.
I will put some of my hybrid athletes into like a higher rep scheme. Not long, only because they'll work down, don't worry. In the base phase, I like to layer fatigue, and sort of high rep stuff can be another way to do that while still sort of teaching to the test. And then as the workouts become more specific, there's more hybrid quality sessions. We're mixing modalities. I start to ratchet down the rep schemes to keep more available because we're doing high output stuff in those sessions. So by the time I get athletes to like A races, they may be down to 3s.
Exercises where there's more of a skill component and a stability component, like a reverse lunge. If you take someone who's not trained and you're like, all right, do a heavy 3,
it's gonna be bad.
It's just gonna be a disaster.
It's gonna be bad.
They're not gonna get as much out of it. Where like use a lighter load that they may do 20 reps their first day. They get the skill that allows them to go heavier. So I can see it as like a teaching tool, and like
not everybody I work with is a pro. A lot of them are aspiring to get into things, right? And so you're right. That's a good point too. Just that alone.
The main thing that I don't like about high rep stuff is some potentially unnecessary fatigue. But if you're working with a non-pro who isn't like at the absolute limits of their recovery and their capacity, a little extra fatigue from like a high rep set might actually be good for them because they can handle more total stimulus
100%
versus the pro that I'm like trying to be as efficient as possible with it.
But if I had to pick, I'm going to pick low reps every day. If you had to choose, it's a no-brainer. You look like you need one more set. For performance, would you ditch the parallel stanced movements and only split the pelvis, or would you make an argument that it's still more important to put as much weight on your system as possible, and a back squat or a traditional deadlift would be the way to do that?
Cliche answer, both. I don't think you need that much of any one thing. That one good set I did, I could probably call it there and it'd be okay. One really hard set of a split pelvis movement, getting a lot of glute med, abductor strength out of that. I don't think I need to hammer that for 10 sets in a week. I think a couple good exposures, I've gotten everything out of that split stance position that I probably can. Have I truly overloaded everything as much as I can? Probably not. Whether I get on a machine or something like that, I think I can probably push a little bit harder. You know, if I get on a Smith machine squat or leg press, just to actually take like, you know, in-range knee extension, for example, closer to failure, I'd rather do that than just obsess over one thing. I think that's the mistake that people make, is they find one thing about movement, like the split pelvis position or the hip shifting. They go all in on that, or they go all in on let's maximize stability and external loads, and they're like all machines. I think just 1 or 2 exposures of a couple different things is going to be better than going all in on any one variable.
Yeah. Is that a lot of your philosophy then? Like instead of just sitting there and pounding this for another 10 sets, you'll move to the next?
Yeah, you know, I primarily work with hybrid athletes, people that want to be good at a lot of different things. And I think you have to leverage that idea of minimum effective dose when you're working with someone that has not just 1 or 2 objectives, but they want to have a nice physique and do a triathlon. And they're like, hey, this thing called High Rocks is next month, and they want to go mountain biking. They have like all these things. We're just spreading them so thin across so many different things that if I need 5 sets of something to deliver a stimulus, the opportunity cost and like all the other things I'm giving up to spend 5 sets on something, I'm missing out big time on something else that they could really use.
Most people have a million different things that aren't even very cohesive with one another on their calendar, right? And then you got to be the puppeteer, figuring out how to have them at least 95% ready for all of them. That's the fun part though.
Your first set of lunges looked solid. Like it was good right out of the gate. A lot of people I work with, when they do a movement like this, like the first couple sets are a little shaky and then they find a groove. And it's like, I like to spend a little more time on each exercise because I think it just takes people a little longer to hit a stride when they're not quite as skilled. I can get a lot out of very fast warm up, 1 working set, move on. Whereas for other people, I may not use as broad of an exercise selection because I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time just developing some of the skills that are necessary to get a lot out of that exercise in the first place.
Make sure they move well.
If you're like, what's the difference between training a beginner and training an advanced athlete? I think the biggest difference is probably just the range of exercise selection can be a little bit broader with a more advanced athlete that can get to work a little bit faster. They know how to get a high output, very stimulating set done versus someone that's like, you probably had like 7 reps left in the tank. Let's do another
Right,
kind of thing.
Right, yeah. Oh, a little heavy. Yeah, buddy. Nice, dude. Beauty. It's always good when your barbell bends on a lunge. You're doing something right. For me, it's like my running, I want 85% of my resources going towards that.
I'd say I'm split pretty evenly. I won't miss a strength session. I don't remember the last time I missed a strength session. I'll miss 1 run session in a week. I don't remember the last time I missed more than 1.
And I'd be the opposite, although it's not hard to do 2 strength workouts a week, so I rarely miss one of those 2.
That being said, because I really don't want to miss a strength session, if I don't have the full hour that I want, and like, shoot, I only got half an hour, I'll just do what I can. Whereas for some reason, I'm a little bit more particular with the running where it's like kind of all or nothing. Like I want to get the session or do it tomorrow or something, which probably doesn't make a lot of sense mentally.
I'm the same way. 20 minutes of strength is better than no minutes. But if you have real work that needs to be done when your running shoes are on and you're running a race that is 3 hours, 20-minute runs aren't going to cut it. But you can get great stimulus by getting 1 or 2 heavy sets on this, check the box at least, and move forward.
I mean, beginners can get a lot out of a 20-minute run, but like for you.
For you. Dude, you used to spend hours on the mountains of Lake Killington, if I'm not mistaken. 3-4 hour events, right? They talk about you in the old guard, man. I mean, really, you were one of the OGs.
And I'm still 30, isn't that weird?
Started when you were like 12. Nice. So you must have been, Christ, were you in high school?
I started Spartan when I was 17. So
How does a kid that's 17 years old even find it?
Then I transferred schools out of district to like a charter school for academics because I had like decent run times. It raised some sort of red flag. You have to sit out a season. They want to like avoid recruiting or whatever. So I just started like Googling local running races and started finding stuff. Did a Spartan. It makes no sense. I can't tell you why I did it, but I found a link to this ultra and I'm like, 50 miles sounds cool.
That's how you know you're wired different.
I think the longest run I had done at that point was 10. I went out to the local park, ran loops till I got to 25 because I'm gonna make sure I could at least do half of it. I was like, well, that sucked, but I think I can do it. I had never been on technical terrain like that. I had never seen that sort of elevation gain. I was so unprepared. I ran way too fast for 20 miles, bonked, walked a while. Some masters ultra runners picked me up eventually, and they're like just 1 foot in front of the other.
You were 17?
Yeah. It was like 11 hours or something.
But you finished.
I did, yeah.
Are you done with this?
I'm done with this. I've had enough.
Even if you do things right and your form is, in quotes, great, and it doesn't always need to be, and I know you agree with me on that, things are gonna happen. Things are gonna pop up.
The funny part is when I tore my groin, like I do a bunch of weird exercises. Like most people would probably think I would have hurt myself doing one of those dumb things. I was doing the seated adduction machine. Squeeze my legs and it goes. I'm a big fan of just general like abductor strength. We talked about the split pelvis. When you do single leg work, it's good because you're shifting that hip over. You're working some more abductor and like a compound movement. I kind of like this because it's the same idea. Like you're working those same muscles inside your hip. I just like to give it a little direct work.
I'm 41. I'm the healthiest I've probably ever been in my running career. And I spend this much time on mobility. 0. But a deep Bulgarian split squat. This is mobility work.
Yeah. Well, I'll see how you do with these. This will be interesting to see. You're already stronger than basically any runner I know. So I'm sure you'll be all right.
Flattery goes a long ways with me, Alec.
If you want like the other hand down for a little support, combo, hip abductor, especially glute med, oblique and lower back in there too.
You let your top leg just be nice and passive.
Usually what I do, I add a dumbbell to my hip and I have to hug the dumbbell with that top leg.
So we are here.
Yep.
So you're dipping. That's actually way more on the shoulder than I expected.
This looks good though, man.
I'll tell you what, there's no doubt right there.
You feel it?
Is messed up already. It made me feel like I stood up from that and I felt like I've been drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not stable. It's interesting.
Does your low back ever get tight from running?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yours?
Yeah. And when it does, I find nothing makes it feel better than just some gentle, like either side bend stuff or rotational stuff and do like 2 or 3 moderate sets of this kind of stuff. I feel so much better.
So when I stand up, that is so goofy.
Yeah.
That's
feels
great.
Good. Feels good though, right? Like you feel that.
Yeah, but I can just feel it's like, if you were to make me do these and go on the treadmill, I bet you I'd end up on the floor. So I would refer to this, and this is not that at all, but the piddly shit, the stuff that isn't sexy, you're not gonna move a ton of weight, and it's probably more important than what we just did there. I shouldn't say that, but.
Well, the thing with the piddly shit, as you call it, is I think people don't take it seriously and they don't care about their outputs. Like when people are squatting, the great thing and the bad thing about something like a squat or a bench press is that people care what they're lifting. Most people anyway, they're like, I want to be able to squat more. And so they have the inherent desire for progressive overload. Where when it comes to stuff like this, most people don't give a shit. No one's asking like, hey, how much can you single leg side plank dip? You just kind of go through the motions and the desire to progress isn't there. But if you put it there, if you're like, yeah, I want to progress this just as much as that, let's add a weight, let's add reps, like let's make it a little bit tougher every week. I think it becomes similar playing field in terms of importance. There's a big kind of buy-in cost of when you start adding something new. It's gonna suck initially. It's a long-term investment. And even when we look at studies on markers of muscle damage and inflammation from starting a strength training program, it's significantly elevated. Creatine kinase, for example, for 8 weeks, sometimes 12 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer, from pretty simple programs. If you're a runner and you add strength, it's gonna be 3 months, 4 months before you've really adapted to the metabolic stress and like built up some resiliency to that muscle damage. And I think you have to see it through to like see what's on the other side of that. If you're looking for results in 8 weeks, 12 weeks, like you're gonna be disappointed.
The immediate gratification and payoff isn't there. You have to trust. And then suddenly, and this is true, you go out the door 5 months after starting this program and you have a breakthrough run and you say, where the heck did this come from? Well, how many of those boxes did I check that didn't seem to pay off actually set me back? And it's one of those interesting things because run progression we think should be linear and it should be straightforward.
Yeah.
How often is it? Even with lifting.
I have a question about that for you. So sample workout, like you told me you did your tempo run at like a 5:20 pace average, like something in that ballpark. That was a fresh run, right?
Yeah, let's call it fresh.
If you had done a workout like this, like if you had lifted before that and then tried to do that session, it would have slowed you down, I'm sure. I'm not sure how much, maybe 5:30, 5:40, you would have been a little bit slower. Do you think that inherently costs you potential adaptation from that session? Is it somewhat offset by the pre-fatigue? How would you view something like that?
If you're training under fatigue and like your body knows how to run 5:30 pace. Just because you can't run it today because you're compromised doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do it when you're not compromised.
Right.
My argument for that would be like, well, what happens when I don't do leg day and I show up at a start line and race? I'm going to be very available, a lot easier than when I did it after leg day. There's power in just that. Usually on my Saturday long runs, I'm still got some stress in my legs. I do my single leg work on Thursdays. And now I show up to a start line and I'm way less fatigued just because I didn't have the stimulus like I normally would have. And suddenly I got 3 seconds a mile right there just because I've removed fatigue. I think it's kind of the same thing. So like if you go and run tired, you could argue that might be more effective than running fresh.
Is there a limit of how tired can I be for certain sessions or certain types of sessions that I should try to do when I'm more fresh?
Tuesdays are sacred in my book. So on Tuesdays, the integrity of those reps are at the highest. My session yesterday, I wanted to be available. But then I'll do a quality long run with threshold intervals in it or something on Saturday. And I get out of bed and I'm like, oh, my glutes are still fired up. And then I just call that like a fatigued long run, right? Where like, I want to stack fatigue with time on feet. So I almost want to wake up stiff on Saturday for that second session. I think one session a week, you work clean mechanics, you're available, you get a good measure of where you're at. And I really think we should have 2 sort of quality session pillars a week. They shouldn't be similar sessions. They should maybe even work different energy systems, maybe threshold, VO2 match, or biomechanical work. Nonetheless, one clean session. And then the next one, you can be as trashed as you want going into it. Take what your body's going to give you that day. That's how I like to approach it. But I just like one clean session because not only does it matter how much blood my heart can pump and how much oxygen my lungs can exchange, we need to have clear pathways biomechanically to move fast efficiently. And you need to train that. So you can't go into every quality run session being totally fucked up.
I like to be more fresh for like sustained tempo, like either longer intervals, a hard 6 to 10 mile tempo. I don't like to go into something like that too tired.
That's so
Whereas
funny.
like short intervals, if I'm sore, I feel like I can still just grit my teeth and get it done for a couple minutes and then I get to rest and do it again. I don't mind being as tired for some of those. Is that just me or is like, what's your thought on that?
I'm the exact opposite.
Are you like,
But it makes sense though, because you're so much more proficient on the strength front. And so that fatigue isn't as foreign to you. So you can be familiar with it and work through it. I think there's probably something there to that. That's so interesting because I feel like I need max muscle recruitment and power recruitment on like a shorter interval day, whereas I can work at a lower percentage of my capability on a longer interval day. So if I'm a little messed up, well, that's just so funny. Like the last thing I would want to do is go to the track and rip 400s after a leg day.
I don't like starting it. Usually the first rep or two, I'm like, okay, this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But then I get through it. Whereas like on a tempo run, I feel like I start and my legs like are a little crampy. They hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And it just builds.
Like which workout is more difficult? Like let's say 16 by 400 with a minute rest or 16 by 400 with 2 minutes rest.
Yeah, 2 minute rest gets spicy.
Correct. Like you see big rest on paper and people are like, oh, coach is being kind. I'm like, no, those reps better freaking smoke.
Yeah.
And it's going to suck.
I used to take a very polarized approach of a lot of long, slow, zone 2 stuff. And when it came to quality work, I think I kind of overdid the idea of quality over quantity to where I would do like really hard intervals, but they were pretty short workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can work from a general fitness perspective. But if that's all I'm doing to train for a marathon, I shouldn't be surprised when my legs fall apart at like 16 miles or 18 miles. Now my run training, I do a lot more threshold work. I get way more threshold volume in my week now. I still have some zone 2 work. I'll still do some strides or like a handful of sprints, but I don't over-index that. Basically lift as heavy as I can and then accumulate as much threshold volume as I can and then fill in easy work where time remains is kind of what I've been doing. And I PR'd my marathon at 30 pounds heavier than my last one, less mileage. So it's definitely worked for me to a degree.
How easy is it for you if I said go run marathon pace right now? That's a joke to you. If I said leave the door and go run, you'd be like, this is very approachable.
Yeah.
Like we all already innately, if we're doing about like we have the speed to run as fast as we need to in any race. Like we all have the speed already. We don't have the stay power. You have the speed to run a 2-hour marathon, Alec, but you don't have the stay power.
I can do it for about 3 minutes.
Right? And so like people watching, like you have the speed to run a 15-minute 5K. Your stay power just isn't there. So like if you just remind yourself, like you're capable of running that pace, you just can't hold it. How do I make my training decisions? Work on quality sessions that force you to hold it. A lot of it is podcast listening, low grade work with very purposeful strikes twice a week. And the rest should not take a lot out of you mentally, physically. And then twice a week, because you've mentally disengaged and physically allowed yourself to come around, you can strike hard, chill, strike hard in the quality session, chill. Where strength, it's a little more available. You can pick apart muscle groups and work different.
Hypothetically, if someone were to do all of their specific key workouts running and they relegated all of their zone 2 base work to cross training.
Yep.
How effective do you think that could be? And like how much am I giving up, for example, if I do all of my zone 2 work on the stairs instead of running, assuming I still have like the key workouts on?
Majority of a 5-year stretch, I was running 3 days a week and I was filling it on the assault bike, the rower, predominantly some stair stepper. And I think I got about 97% of the way there because it's really about systems work. All I was missing was maybe a little more biomechanical efficiency because I wasn't exposed to it as much. But as far as like if we were to give you a VO2 max test on that program, and we were to give you a VO2 max test on the program where if somebody runs every day, you're gonna have the exact same VO2 max, right? So your ability to output, it's just like how efficient can you get running 3 days a week versus running 6?
So a lot of the high rocks guys they're not running nearly as much as just straight runners are, but they're still freaking fast. But they're doing a ton of work on the rower, the skier.
You look at triathletes, some of the biggest aerobic monsters. They may only run 3 or 4 days a week, but they'll still run circles around most everybody in a pure run race. But for a road runner or a mountain runner, like resistance to impact is important. We have to be able to take pounding.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to do it with the same stride repeated over and over and over and over. That's why like the marathon bonk can be so bad. Of course, it's like a systems bonk, a metabolic bonk, but also it's a structure bonk. Like my foot hit the ground the exact same way, 35,000 steps in a row. Of course, some things are going to get tired. So it's like a fine line between structural availability and like aerobic availability. So aerobically, you're going to be just as ready on the cross training zone 2 program. Structurally, might you make it another 3 miles in the marathon before you break down? That answer can remain a mystery.
Are you familiar with David Roche?
Yeah, we just talked about him on our podcast episode released today. We break down his Leadville 100 course breaking.
I'm excited to listen to that. His argument is kind of he does a lot of incline stuff like on the tread and feels like basically he can push more like quality work by kind of taking some of the structural stuff out of it. And I think in the end, he's still challenging himself. He's still kind of stressing those systems. But he's able to get more like cardiac output work and stuff with incline. Agree with that? Have like caveats? Do you do incline work and that kind of stuff yourself? Or do you do like hard cross training for that like elevated cardiac output perspective?
If there's anything that I couldn't agree with him more on, it's that.
Really?
Yeah. I bet you wonder if I was going to say more or less there. More because it's like free work. If you go do a hard 30, let's say you did a 30-minute time trial on the roads, hard as you could, flat terrain. And then you did a 30-minute uphill time trial, max distance, let's say at 50%. Structurally, which one do you think you'll feel better the next day? The incline session, because the force is so much less. And so the chain of events, like we get so much less damage just because force is so much less. So I think it's kind of like free work. So you'll see it on my Strava, but like one day is flat with purpose quality and one day is incline with purpose quality, just because I think it keeps you available.
My biggest race of this past year was a marathon in the Alps that was half relatively flat and then half straight up, like 12 to 15% incline.
Which race?
It's the Jungfrau Marathon in Switzerland. Building up to that race, I basically split all of my workouts 50-50 between like 3% and 10 to 12%. And I felt so good. And that was the most high intensity work I was able to handle. And I think that's a big part of why I did really well in that race. And then I wasn't even planning to run Twin Cities or to try to set a marathon PR, but I did the race in the Alps after all that incline work. That went so well. I really wonder what I could do on flat ground. So then I signed up and ran Twin Cities 3 weeks later.
3 weeks after, and that's like mountain marathon.
I had done very little flat ground running. I was worried about how my legs were going to hold up. You know, and great, hit a PR. And now I'm like, I kind of want to keep that approach, maybe not exactly the same, but I think there's a lot of benefit to it.
I think incline running with purpose is a cheat code. There's no free stride. Every stride requires power, but then every plant takes way less damage. Literally, unless you're like a top end 5K Olympic seeking athlete, I think it'll make 99.9% of the population better and probably maintain health. 3 weeks after a mountain marathon, PR flat marathon. Yeah.
And it's not just me. My wife had the same experience because we did the same training for the same Swiss Alps marathon. We basically followed the same exact program. Her past marathon PR was 4:04. She ran Twin Cities in 3:27.
Holy smokes. If all you did was uphill work on the treadmill predominantly, and you didn't do the strength work component on top of it, I think your resistance to impact in the flat marathon would be vastly different.
Having not done the flat work, my quads were absolutely wrecked.
But you crossed the finish line before that happened, so who cares? So you're racing grandma, so we'll be towing the start line there.
You're going to beat me by probably 15 minutes.
I hope so. I hope so. Maybe you run faster than you think. You know who's going to be there? Nick Bear's going to be there, which I think will just be entertaining. He's looking to run sub 230. That's his A goal, which is a stretch for him. He's a big boy, but nonetheless, there's going to be some strong boys there trying to run fast is what I'm getting at. So what are we going to do on the run?
Yeah, on that night, let's do a hybrid session. I'm going to shut this off. We'll figure out what we're going to do. Do you have a default warm-up routine, or do you just kind of start run, see how you feel?
I think the biggest mistake people make in their warm-up is they don't do any real work in their warm-up before like a quality run session. Like some real work should be done in your warm-up. I'm not looking to stay in like recovery heart rate zone. I want a heart rate spike. I want to have to start like buffering a little bit of lactate, a couple 30 to 45 second harder bouts. I want to be breathing hard for periods of time.
My default lately has just been a mile at marathon pace.
You'll just go right to it?
Yeah.
I think you should have short bouts, pretty intense work in your warm-up. And the shorter the race, the more important that is. Yeah. It's getting a little older. I want a full 15 minutes. I want to be sweating. I want my core body temp up.
How long is a normal run session for you during the week?
10 on Monday, and I did 14 yesterday. I'm a 5-day-a-week runner. Try to hit 50 miles in those 5 days, so that's an average of 10. What about you?
I'm a 4-day-a-week runner, hitting about 8 miles a session. You mentioned earlier the marathon pace is like an easy pace, and some days it is, and some days I've lifted and I start running marathon pace. I'm like, how do I do this for that long,
If you're nailing the marathon, it should be comfortable for a while, but it's not slow. Your first step should be with purpose when that gun goes off, if you're racing it well. So now I'll just hit one soft pickup for a little bit here.
I'm gonna copy you, you're the pro.
Push for 30, 45 seconds here. I'll probably do another pickup. I'll go probably 11. Let her roll, and another 5 seconds, and then we'll back her back down again. And so, I don't know if you're checking your heart rate, but that got me to 153, and I think that's a good thing.
162
on the wrist pace.
Yeah.
Did these go faster than 5-minute mile pace?
Yeah, they go to 14.
I'm happy. You happy?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a sweat going.
Yeah, that's what I want. Sub 15 5K combined. What's our transition strategy? What are we going to do here?
Get in this side, get off this side, and we just circle. 1% for credibility. I don't want anyone saying the trend.
And what is that accounting for? Tell them what that's accounting for.
It's accounting for lack of wind resistance. But what people don't think about is that when you're running on a treadmill, you don't have air circulation. So it's hot, humid. It's like the equivalent of running on a much warmer day. I think treadmill is harder in some ways, especially for longer, high effort work. But we'll give you the 1% just so I don't get any complaints.
So it is ramping us up, so it's not accounting for distance. So we might have to go faster to get there now. This is actually going to be a real test now because we are 20 seconds in. We're not up to speed. Okay, we're finally up to speed, 30 seconds in.
Behind pace already. We might have to pick it up at the end to see what we can do. It looks smooth.
Thanks, brother.
There we go.
You look smooth.
I'll be curious to play these back and see how different we look at the speed. Feels good.
To me, that feels faster than what it would on the road.
It does feel pretty fast.
It feels fast. Relax is smooth, smooth is fast. Getting on feels goofy.
1 mile and 450. We're a third of the way there.
That's good math, Alec.
I just bumped us up to 12.6.
Alec's out for blood. Nice, dude. See how his wrists are flopping and his hands are all relaxed? That's right where you want to be. Not all tense. Nice and relaxed like he is. It's starting to turn into work.
Yeah, just,
Yeah. 12.7, Alec.
oh shit. Kirk's running the 443. Looking like a jog.
Hey, buddy.
12.8.
12.8. The lunges weren't enough. 2 miles in like 9.
9:35. Ass is on fire.
That booty comes with consequences, Alec. He's reaching now. You see how he's reaching now? We're going 12.9.
I'll give you a minute on 13. This is a marathon world record pace, by the way.
4:36.
He's going 13.5. 4:26 pace. Are you going all the way?
Good try.
He's closing this out strong. He's gonna finish it.
See if we get our metric there.
Hit stop and see if it'll, down there on the left, see if it'll tell us what we did.
I think it was like 14:30.
Ran out a little bit.
Yeah, you look good opening it up. You're not an overstrider. You have really good stride length for like your inseam, to be honest with you. Like you're pretty efficient opening it up. You don't see that very often, especially guys with muscle on them like you. You see those muscly guys, short, choppy, right? They have a hard time opening it up, and you don't, which means your mobility is good.
I need the side splits.
I'd be in the hospital if I did that. I would.
But that makes it that much easier to like get hip extension, you know?
Unfortunately, big pecs do not help you run faster.
No, big lats got the wind resistance from these guys.
Yeah, no, seriously.
You had some solid leg strength, obviously with the lunge, but I feel like that's not crazy given that you're a runner, like legs are important. But not a lot of distance runners bench press. Is it just something you like to do from like a general, I'm a human being, I want to be strong kind of thing? Kind of why do you do this kind of stuff?
Vanity. And because it makes me feel good.
So you ran a 15:17, is that your latest 5K on the track?
Yeah, yes.
What do you think that time would have been if you had not bench pressed at all this year?
Probably the exact same. Probably the exact same.
You're saying you wouldn't have broken 15. You didn't fail the sub 15 5K because of your bench press.
Nothing is for certain. So maybe, but it's not likely. You're a well-rounded athlete. You're a well-rounded human being, and that should be a point of pride. If you're all one thing, you're going to be falling short in many others, and I don't think there's longevity to that. That's probably why you've taken hold of everything, isn't it? Like, do you think bench press is going to help you run faster?
It might help if I trip and fall.
Your backup time might save you a second.
Some of these races you're seeing a little like full contact.
Yeah.
Like
Sock hybrid real quick. Burpee broad jump if you're talking high rocks. A sled push.
in high rocks at least, like you don't use your chest so much as shoulders. I might go like more incline pressing or something like that. But again, it's not like, oh, you didn't place as well as you wanted at high rocks because your bench is too low.
It's true.
It's probably not the thing that you want to focus on compared to some other movements. Like what I learned with my Murph training, 200 push-ups as fast as possible. You don't need to be a hero and like fatigue too much because if you reach too close to failure in a endurance set, it's so hard to come back from. So multiple reps shorter, like maintain some bar speed. When you start to slow down, I'll just rack it. Because once you start to slow down, it's hard to dig out of that hole.
So do we have a strategy?
I want to hopefully maintain like sets of 10, but we'll see. I don't know, we just ran. So
Find
it'll
out.
be interesting to see where the blood is in our body. It's probably all in our legs right now.
What do you think? What's a predictor?
Oof.
What do you think?
Sub 6 minutes would be good.
Beauty.
That's not right.
10. Clean. Nice. I'll stop early. 6. We're at 16.
16.
25.
This is going to be worse than I thought.
After running?
Yeah.
25.
Right.
You're not getting a lot of rest on this.
No, I think we might need to shorten the sets a little bit.
35. Save it.
Nice.
39.
You're holding it together.
Are we? 43. I love that we look terrible. This is great.
I'm impressed you're holding froze together.
60. 5.
Save it.
You're smart. This is what's gonna happen now. Is I'm gonna blow a gasket on this one. I know it because I reached for that last one. the rest of my lift by doing that.
68.
68.
Yeah, that was a real bad
That
idea.
was a bad idea. I was trying to keep up with you.
Oh,
82.
oh God, I can't believe how hard triples are now.
We're at 7.5 minutes.
Jeez. Oh,
Oh, I want it. It's going.
oh, thank God. All right, no wasted reps, Kirk.
85. 86. Nice. 7. Oh boy. Got it. Oh boy, you have to earn it. Finish as soon as it's racked. Come on, come on, come on.
100 reps, 10:34. That's what I got.
Yeah, I got 10:32.
Jeez, man.
Is that something we should be embarrassed of, or should we be
I don't know if I
proud
can
of?
publish that. Usually, if you do one big set, like if I did a set of 20, the first 10 to 15 are easy. I could experience that push like once
Yep.
in the
yep.
set. Where this was just like hanging out in that that zone for I don't know how many hard reps I had in there.
Like you reach for that last rep, you've just compromised yourself like exponentially moving forward. It's the same way with running. This is a good lesson in energy management, even for something like the run. Like if I started at 4 and stayed at 4,
It would have been better.
I think we would have had a better time. So we went out too hot. Everybody makes that mistake. You have to feel it. I already know if we did this in 4 days, I'd approach it differently.
Be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sick, man. Nice work.
That was a great
So
workout.
15-minute 5K and 100 bench presses at 185.
We ended with a whimper.
Not our best moment. I'm impressed you held your own against me on the strength side. I think I held it together against you on the run a little bit.
Yeah, you did. Oh yeah, you did.
But I'd say evenly matched across the day overall. So that was a fun challenge, man. Thanks for
That was
being here.
good. Yeah. Appreciate it, dude. Thank you.